Hey dorks, just a quick message reminding you to head over to twitch.tv/mindgappodcast and give us a follow. We live stream when we record our new podcast episodes, and we're live streaming video game sessions on Saturday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. We're playing super rad stuff like Among Us, Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, Jackbox games, and Tabletop Simulator. Come hang out and play along with us. That's twitch.tv/mindgappodcast.
Mind Gap Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. I'm Doug.
I'm Justin.
And with us this week is our very special guest. Please put your digital hands together for Jamie Jirak. Welcome back!
Yay! Thank you for having me back.
Oh, this is so crazy. Though we were just talking, the last time you were here was episode 47, which was like a bajillion years ago at this point. Yeah. And that math checks out.
I couldn't even tell you what happened that day. It was so long ago.
It was a long, long time ago.
My life, where was I living? I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to pin that stuff down because I think, you know, when I look back, like, I feel like that wasn't right. It says March 1st, 2017. That doesn't make sense to me on the website. That date doesn't seem right.
That was 3 years ago. Oh no! You know what?
What?
That's when we transitioned over from hosting on Squarespace to hosting on Libsyn.
Gotcha.
So all of from a certain point backwards, everything has the same timestamp.
Gotcha. Because that would have been. Oh god, we have to do math. That's the best thing we got to do right now.
I will never do that. I will figure out a different way to do it.
Well, I know this. We started in 2015. And so that was before our 1 year. So this was probably in 2016 is when this was going down. So
that makes sense.
That makes sense for our friendship too. That checks out to me.
Yeah, because I think we were obviously doing conservatory at Second City at the time. So
yeah,
that math checks out. Because you're like 2017. You're like I was already elsewhere. So I don't think that's possible.
Yeah.
It was June 9th, 2016.
There we go.
Okay.
There you go.
Check.
And we talked about paradoxes and dilemmas.
I believe it's paradoxes is what it's called, Justin.
Sorry. And is it dilemmas then?
Dilemma?
Dilemma? That's what it is.
Oh my god, I'm going to I bet this is what happened.
You're like, oh right, this was great. Yeah, this was so much fun last time. Can't wait to do it again.
We're just gonna redo that episode.
Like, that's cool. One of my favorite openings of all time, though, was from that show where Justin was just like explain to me what different parts of like soundproofing was, and then I just kept asking him something else that he would say, and we went on forever, and eventually Jamie goes, "Did we start yet?" Like, have we started? And I was like, "Yeah, that was fun. Yeah. That was a good time."
This is the high caliber content you get.
Mm-hmm. It's like what we learned is we need to take better care of our guests, and we're gonna do that this time. We promise. So you're gonna be in better hands. So, but before we do that, let's get a couple things out of the way. Let's get some housekeeping done. First things first, if you guys don't know, you can follow us on Spotify, among other places like Apple Podcasts and things like that. But in particular, we do exist on Spotify. So if you have Spotify, please look for and like and subscribe to Mind Gap Podcast on Spotify. Very good stuff. Also, don't forget to check out our merch at teespring.com/2E8. That's teespring.com/store/2, the letter E, the number 8. We've got some Mind Gap stuff there, Mind Gap face masks, t-shirts, all that jazz. At some point, I think we'll get a cap, right? A baseball cap, a trucker hat. I don't know how that stuff works. But yeah, we're going to have that there. So if you're on Twitch, you can just hit the panel right below, find your Mind Gap merch. And of course, last Saturday, we had a lovely video game stream of Dungeons and Dragons, the fantasy board game. Wait. And last Saturday, we headed back into the dungeon. And Justin, Sam, Eric, and Jared fought their way through Adventure 4 and leveled up. They are now level 2.
That goes together, right?
Very true when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons. And deep in the dungeon, as they level up, they hear a strange noise. And just like that, they leveled up. So we had a really good time. Justin, Jamie, are you a Dungeons and Dragons nerd at all, or a fantasy nerd at all?
I'm not. I've tried, and it's funny because it's so many things that I like, but I'm just not good at games in general.
Oh.
And I think as like an improviser, like it's like too many rules for me. I'm like, why can't I just fly away? That's so I've never.
Why do I have to roll to fly away?
I just want to do it. Like,
I want to make the decision.
Also, like, can I? Like, I would ask, like, oh, can I do this thing? I'm like, no, that's not real. I was like, but what can't I do? Even if I have to roll for it, why can't I try?
Well, I'll tell you this much. If you were in my game, I'd let you do whatever you wanted, Jamie. You just have to roll for it, and we'd see if it would work. That's all.
Okay.
I like the people who tell you in D&D, that's not real. You can't do that. None of this is real.
Yeah.
How are you making that a rule?
Yeah. This is a world of magic.
Right.
Yes, it was good. We had a really good time. You doofuses finally beat the adventure. You leveled up. Yes. Did you find it challenging, Justin? Was it a little bit of a thrill?
Look, 6 weeks ago, I died. This week, Jared died. So I would say it's definitely it's getting more and more challenging. So
yeah.
Slotty
says Jared found it so challenging he died. That is accurate. That happened. So, but you guys survived. You made it on to Adventure 5, and it was a good time. I had a fun time with you guys. You're always a bunch of silly gooses, and I really enjoyed it. So, looking forward to the next time we get to do that. This Saturday, I'm going to be playing a new game that I found called Chronicon. It's basically like a Diablo game, but like 16-bit graphics and fun stuff. So check in Saturday night, 8 p.m. Central Time, twitch.tv/MindGapPodcast. Come hang out while I play this game. We'll have a good time. All right. All that is out the way. Let's talk about Jamie. Hi.
Hi. I love talking about me.
Yes. So Jamie, the last time you were here, it was years ago. You're doing really cool stuff right now. What are you up to?
So I work for comicbook.com. So I just write about mostly like comic book movies. That's, the main, my bread and butter is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it just ended. So I've lost kind of one beat, which is really sad. But that's why we got to send out good vibes if the Harley Quinn cartoon gets renewed, because that's we need a season 3. But that's cool. That's mainly what I do. And then soon I'm moving to LA, so maybe I'll do things there, but who knows in these trying times.
Very true. That's a really badass job to have, though.
Yeah, right?
Talk about doing what you love.
Yeah, it's really cool. I get to just write about shit I like all day. And yeah, we're cool people. I get to work from home even before everyone works from home.
So you were doing it before it was cool.
Yeah, I'm like a trendsetter.
It was spit my water out the way you delivered that. That was amazing.
This year I got to, the one cool thing about that we all do Zoom is that I got to do some really cool Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. interviews. I got to have like a 30-minute chat with Clark Gregg, which is awesome.
That's amazing.
He's the coolest, nicest person. And then, of course, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. junket, so I got to talk to everybody, but Clark especially was amazing.
What was that like? What's he like?
Oh, he's so lovely. I actually, a couple years ago, I went to LA and I moderated their 100th episode panel.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that was cool, like being on stage with all of them.
Wow.
Was really neat. And so because of that, like we're not friends, we don't know each other, but we know each other we've met, so I'm not trying to claim like my best friend like Greg, but enough that when we got on the Zoom, he's like, I like your new hair color. So
nice.
So he remembers you.
So that was that's kind of how I got involved with the S.H.I.E.L.D. Kind of everything was doing that panel, and then here I am.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so
really
neat.
Cool.
That's so neat, is what I just said. Who am I? Two good hips?
Well,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's really, really cool. I have seen you post stuff on and on, off and on, and then I think I checked your Twitter bio. I'm like, she works for comicbook.com. I was like, that's awesome. Because we used to sit, I remember, like when we were in conservatory, we would just talk like nerdy shop all the time. I was telling Justin, like, I remember you wrote a sketch where you and I had a lightsaber fight. I was like, that was so much fun. I did some really lame, like, Star Wars sketch with an HR perspective that just wasn't very funny. But I just remember, like, you and I would always sit down and we'd be like, so, what about this? And what about that? Yeah, it was so good. And then I was also telling Justin that you used to, what was it, during the show, you and the other woman would do, you do
Ariel?
improvised sexy fan fiction.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's a different thing. Allison.
Yes, that's right.
I used to, in stand-up, I would just write erotica and read it on stage because I thought it was funny to do. And so, yeah, we used to do improvised, that's right, fan fiction.
Oh, that was so fun. I specifically remember a Harry Potter one, and I just remember, like, you referencing Harry Potter's, wooden wand and just, like, being backstage. I'm like, this is awesome. This is what we came here to do.
Turning nerd shit into sex shit since 1990.
I know. It was so funny because we talked about, part of that was like, hey, what are you really good at? And you talked about your love of TV, your love of shows, and also because I think you used to write like X-Files fan fiction, right?
I used to do Sex Files, even though I have not even seen every episode of that show. I just really think that like X-Files would be so much better if they were just fucking like every episode. I can say that, right?
Of course,
100%,
of course you can. Yeah.
So I used to write a lot of Sex Files, but again, I would do it in stand-up, so it was kind of gross.
I disagree. And I think it's funny that you feel like you have to see every episode to be able to write like erotic fiction. It's like, no, I mean,
normally I would pick something that I know really well, but like all you need to know is that like Mulder and Scully can get it and they want to get it from each other.
Right? Yeah. And while in between, them getting it, they're solving, mysterious things,
Space mysteries.
I know enough to know that Scully walks out of the room every time something supernatural happens.
Amazing. I love it. That's so cool. So we're going to kick tonight off with an interesting article that, and I know I sent this over to you in advance. You're like, I don't know much about this, but we're going to start it where there was a young woman that was declared dead by paramedics, but then she was found alive in a Detroit funeral home.
Breast cancer.
And
I have so many questions about this.
Yeah. First of all, my first question was like, what is this? Like the 1800s, where people are terrified of being buried alive,
Only this young woman and her family,
and this article doesn't really tell you much about what happens. Like they literally were just like, the paramedics arrived on scene, they gave her CPR for 30 minutes, she was not responding, and so they're like, well, she's dead. They take her to the funeral home, and then these folks call, they're like, this woman's alive.
Responded to a home in Southfield
like,
for an unresponsive
Doug, potentially there's
woman.
a video
Arrived,
playing in the background right now.
Says the 20-year-old wasn't breathing.
Probably from the
After
website
standard
I'm on.
efforts
Thank
to
you,
revive
Slotty.
the woman,
That horrible website that just plays the audio. Yeah, thank you.
No, I that's the like when I read that the medics had performed CPR for a half hour. That's an insane amount of time to perform CPR, and then for them to go, nope. All right, well, we tried. And then 2 hours later, they're like, oh, wait a second. We were wrong. She is alive. Like, there's so much that needs to be filled in there.
It's funny because this story is I just watched season 2 of The Umbrella Academy. Of course, I'm going to bring it back to television.
Yes.
And Kate Walsh's arc starts that way. They're about to put her in the incinerator. And then she wakes up. And so my thought is like, is something supernatural going on?
Is the Umbrella Academy real?
The first thing this stream, I just got done watching Old Guard on Netflix. And did you like it? Did you see it?
An action movie where two men get to be super gay and kiss each other and then also kick ass. Yes,
right?
that's my dream movie.
I love it. It's amazing.
So we're gonna get erotic fiction of Old Guard very soon.
I mean, they did it for me.
That's true. It's in the film.
It's redundant, Justin.
But no, but that's the first thing I was thinking of was like, did this are mortals now walking among us? 200 are people going to show up to this woman and just go, "You're one of us now," and just take her away? Like, what happened? And also, one of my biggest fears is being either buried alive drowning is one of my biggest ways to die, but being buried alive is terrifying thought.
What do you think is worse, being buried alive or drowning?
Drowning.
Buried alive.
Oh,
Buried alive.
Okay.
All right. Debate.
No, not context.
I guess buried alive, I could see that point because with drowning, there's a moment where you make the decision and you inhale and that's it. And it's terrible. But with being buried alive, I would have to assume that it's a much slower process where you're just very aware that everything's happening.
Yeah.
No.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I'll tell you when drowning would be worse. In Old Guard, when that woman gets put in the iron coffin and then sent to the bottom and she dies, but then she's immortal, so she resurrects and then drowns again and resurrects and drowns again and resurrects. And to do that for, I think they said 500 years, that's the worst way to go. Can you imagine that feeling? Like waking up and you're underwater?
You just kind of get used to it after a while.
I think I'd be furious. I don't think I would get used to it at
I mean,
all.
that is a fair point. Like, humans, they get complacent, I mean, if we learn anything from the Matrix, like, they made the perfect world and humans rejected it, because it was too perfect. So, yeah. I mean, because how long does it take you to drown? Like, what, a minute, maybe?
I mean, as soon as you inhale the water, right?
Right? So, but I mean, you wake up and you're probably like, trying to hold your breath. I mean, how long do you hold your breath? Like 1 to 2 minutes? So,
well, I mean, but you wake up, you don't have any oxygen to start with.
So you just wake up and immediately die?
You immediately keep suffocating again and again. Like,
boy, this
the
is
water
really
fills
making
your lungs.
This is making me feel really uncomfortable just thinking about
Right?
that. And for 500 years. For 500 years.
Oh, yeah. No, that's the other thing, too. Yeah, she got out. But spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just took
If you haven't watched it now, what are you doing?
What are you even doing with your life?
I just inhaled a nice breath of air. I was like, that feels good.
Yeah. When I was watching it, when that scene happened, and like you would see her, she was up against the front of the coffin, and you would see her just slowly go down, like into the darkness, and then she'd immediately come back up to the front, like gasping, and then back down. I had to pause it and like breathe myself because I found myself like getting very anxious. I'm like, okay, you're not in the water, you're okay.
The only other time I felt like that was watching the movie The Descent, as the women are like crawling through the tight spaces in the cave, and I was just like, this is not okay.
Nope. Nope.
I'm not claustrophobic really, but in any situation where I can't stand fully up, that's no thing.
The idea of getting trapped somewhere, like, like trying to squeeze into something and just being like, I can't get out, like that to me, like I'm the same way, like I can be in a tight space, no problem, but like something like that where I'm stuck is, and those shots of like the women just sort of like, you're just crawling out. I'm like, oof, I don't like this. I don't like this at all.
That is one of the scariest movies ever made, I think.
Yeah.
Just, my God.
Yeah.
Well,
someone asked in the chat, have we ever seen the movie Buried with Ryan Reynolds? Because that is exactly what
he's buried alive.
Yeah.
I assumed it's just like a elongated version of the scene from Kill Bill, and I just would rather watch Kill Bill Volume 2.
But he gets a phone call, and someone's like, you have to do what I say, and I'll let you out. But does he get out? Probably not.
I don't know.
Of course, the Australian would know water burns your lungs when you're drowning, so it's a terribly painful way to die.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Also learned that from The Prestige,
Yeah.
Horrible way to go.
Oh. Ooh. haven't seen that in theaters. I should read that.
That is a phenomenal movie. Still good, by the way. Highly recommended. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. So Justin, so you say, all right, you get captured by horrible people, and they're like, all right, buddy, we can either drown you or we can bury you alive. Which one are you gonna do?
As I'm deciding, I take one of their knives and I just end it.
Roll for sleight of hand.
Right, I roll for sleight of hand. That's exactly what's. I honestly, that's like, I don't want to make that decision. I hate that thought.
Yeah,
so hard.
That's how do you want to go out? Like either way sucks.
Jamie, what would you choose?
Oh, between buried alive and drowning?
Yeah.
Is that? Oh, buried alive, or I'm sorry, drowning, 100%. And I think it's maybe because I grew up in Florida and I'm a really good swimmer. So part of me is like, I could defeat it.
I could defeat drowning.
But if I'm buried alive, no, I'm done. And it's the same thing. I can't stand up. No. I'd rather inhale water than dirt. There's just no contest.
Yeah, because I imagine they put you in a coffin, they seal it shut, and then they put you under. You just slowly run out of oxygen. Like either way, you're kind of suffocating. Yeah. One, I think it's just going to take longer than the other. So it's really,
yeah. What would you choose, Doug?
I think I would regretfully choose probably drowning.
Yeah,
just for the sake of like, let's get this done. It'd be horrible, but like you know,
don't think once it's done, once it's like it's like quite peaceful.
I mean, as peaceful as I don't know.
I'm assuming.
I think it's actually not a bad way to go by the experts who have died that way. I don't know.
From the ghosts I've spoken to, they're like, you know what? It wasn't awful. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Well,
I don't like it.
I don't like it either. But you know what I do like is I do like the new trailer for The Batman.
Transitions.
Now, Jamie, I saw you tweet that you basically were like, another Batman movie, who gives a shit? But Robert Pattinson, I'm on board.
Let me tell you, this whole cast, like, my Batman is I like the 90s Batman. I mean, Batman and Robin changed my life when I was 7.
Wait, time out. How did that change your life? Tell me.
Poison Ivy, I was 7. I'd never seen such a woman in my life get to be so cool. And, like I literally said this in the last podcast I was on, but I can't, it's my favorite thing when she's like I told Lady Freeze when I pulled her plug, this is a one-woman show. And she's just so cool. And, but also, like, Batman Returns, I think, is the best Batman movie. The Nolan Batmans do nothing for me. And so I think this Batman is just going to be too serious. But the cast, everyone in this cast, from Pattinson to Colin Farrell to Zoe Kravitz to Jeffrey Wright, Paul Dano. Are you kidding me with this cast right now? Oh my God.
See, I definitely am in the opposite camp of I really liked the Christopher Nolan Batmans because I feel like I liked, the 2 Keaton Batmans, but then Batman Forever and Batman and Robin were just, at that point, I'm like, this is getting a little absurd for me. So when Batman Begins came out, I'm like, who? Oh, great, another Batman. My brother was like, no, dude, you have to watch this. And I did. I'm like, wow, that was really good. And then The Dark Knight was a profound movie for me with Heath Ledger as the Joker and everything like that. Like, that was phenomenal. Dark Knight Rises, a lot of room for improvement. I like Bane, but yeah, there's some story problems there with it. Yeah.
Dark Knight is indisputably, it's a good film. Mm-hmm. It's just not mine. It's just, I like my comic book movies to have a little fun.
Yeah, Batman's not fun.
Exactly, which is why I know that the Batman really only interests me because I'm Team R-Pats, R-Bats, if you will, and I really think he's going to be amazing. I love Robert Pattinson so much. I think he's so talented, and I'm ready for him to be Batman.
Yeah, Go ahead, Justin.
No, I was gonna say when I first heard the announcement, I was just like, I don't understand this at all. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, he really has done everything he can to separate himself from like being the teen idol from Twilight. Like he's done a bunch of weird indie films and really stretched his acting legs. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, I'm actually kind of into Robert Pattinson. So when I saw the screen test, then I was just like, okay, fuck it. I'm full in. I'm full on board with this.
Yeah,
I'm very excited.
I respect the shit out of him because he's done such interesting stuff, and I know he could act. So when they cast him, I'm like, hey, show me a trailer. Like I'm optimistic. And then,
right.
You know, I love the way this looks. It's shot really well. The cinematography looks phenomenal. It does look dark, which I'm okay with. I like me a dark, gritty Batman.
I feel like that's DC though. Like DC is the dark one.
Yeah.
Dark comics.
Yeah. Well, at least you know.
That's what it stands for.
Dark comics.
Which is why my two favorite DCEU movies are Birds of Prey and Shazam, because I
the lightest ones, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, I mean, I like that they're mixing it up. Let's get, because there is a place for these dark, gritty movies. I like dark, gritty movies. Don't get me wrong. It's just, you know, it's just sometimes it's silly. Like, this man's dressed as a bat. Why are we taking him so serious? You know.
It's a very valid point.
But Robert Pattinson, I want to say, because everyone's like, he's moved beyond Twilight, whatever. I just want everyone to know that I love Twilight. I'm currently reading Midnight Sun. I have it right here in my hand, which is Twilight from Edward's perspective. I love Twilight. I think the Twilight movie, the first movie, is a masterpiece, and I could go on a rant about it for an hour. But also, I don't know if you guys have seen High Life or The Lighthouse, but yes, he's got range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a movie with him. It was called The Rover a few years back with Guy Pearce and Robert Pattinson in it, and it was just an interesting indie movie that takes place in Australia. There you go, Jared. Enjoy. He's our Australian fan. And Robert Pattinson like did a phenomenal job. I was like, man, this guy is really like, you know, it was very impressive to see him do that stuff. And so when it's like he's gonna play Batman, I'm like, yeah, I think he can handle that. I think he'll be okay. Like, no worries here. Like, I think we're good. I just love how people always look at that and they assume, you know, the whole Twilight stuff is just the only thing that he is. I'm like, well, first of all, he's always Cedric Diggory in my heart, like through and through. That's who he is. So, yes.
Yeah.
Chat's blowing up here. Jared says Jamie's the best. # Jamie loves Batman. Jamie to be the new host. And then let's see here. What did Slotty said? Slotty says perhaps there's something as too much fun, perhaps, in reference to Batman movies. Because Bat roller skates.
I can't agree to that, but I respect the opinion.
And then someone's saying they saw on the internet, on Twitter, they're saying that Pattinson can play Batman, but Bale can't play Edward.
Oh, that is a fact right there. That is a fierce fact. Oh my god, Bale is Edward. Oh, I'd die. I'd never want to see that in a million years. I'd rather see any other Batman. I'd rather see Val Kilmer play Edward.
And to that, Doug goes, have you seen Newsies?
Have you seen Newsies? He did a phenomenal job in Newsies. It's the only musical I like.
That Bale could be Edward.
I've never seen the movie. I've only seen the Broadway show. But I don't like Christian Bale. It's not personal.
This sounds personal. Air your beef right now, Jamie.
I don't like American Psycho. I don't like the Batman. The Batman. There's something else I know that's trickling out of me. He's an okay Laurie in Little Women, but I prefer the new Little Women, so I don't know. That's just
the new Little Women was fucking amazing.
It is. I can't even talk that enough. Are you kidding me? Oh my god.
I've never seen Little Women.
If you're gonna watch one, watch the new one. That's.
I mean, advice. Jill bought it, but she hasn't watched it yet either. So it's definitely on our thing. But I'm always like, I ask Jill, I'm like, is that any good? She goes, I watched it, and I'm like, well, let me know.
You know, I'm not gonna say in case you don't know. Do you know what actor shows up halfway through Little Women?
Hold on, I'm gonna get it. Who could it be? Who could it be? Hang on, I've got it. Kurt Russell.
No, it is. I'm not going to tell you because it's just a delightful surprise.
Sean Connery.
And you'll never guess it. Wait, what'd you
So
say?
Sean Connery is who he guessed.
It's his 90th birthday today.
Happy birthday, Sean Connery.
Happy birthday, Sean.
Yeah, Sean.
Yeah. The old Scott.
Itoy07 says Bale would have found a vampire to get bitten for that role.
The man is quite method. Yes.
I have method acting is as someone who like went to like did theater much of their life. Method acting gets under my skin. We get it. My God. Just rehearse a bit more. Come on. So.
Yeah, the idea of being in character all the time. This makes no sense, but it almost seems lazy in a sense of they're like, look, I'm in it and I don't want to get out of it. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm just going to stay here.
I think it's just it's just like my character's an asshole, so I'm going to be an asshole all the time. Fuck you.
Yeah, it just seems weird, Like, I respect it because, most of the times you see it, for the most part on screen or whatever. It's just like, wow, this person's really into it. But, I heard Jared Leto was a real peach to be around for Suicide Squad as the Joker, just.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And look how that turned out. So
I think the best story I heard about method acting, I don't know if this is true, but I love the story, is that it was on Marathon Man. Dustin Hoffman had to play that he had just gotten done running. And so he went and he ran a mile around the set. And he got back, and Laurence Olivier has asked him, he goes, why did you go do that? And he goes, well, I needed to be out of breath, so it looked like it was running. And Laurence Olivier turns to him and goes, try acting next time. Because Hoffman's supposedly this method, and Olivier is like, you're an idiot.
I love that so much. Like, those people are like, just try harder next time.
Do the thing you were hired for.
Yeah. So, talking about some of the other, like, I guess I had heard that Paul Dano was going to be in the movie, but I love Paul Dano. I think he's an unsung hero in the acting world. He's phenomenal. Like, I just enjoy him so much and everything he does. He's playing the Riddler, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Terrifying.
I'm super excited for this portrayal of the Riddler. Nothing wrong with Jim Carrey. I mean, Jim Carrey did his thing, and you know what? For what that was, he did his thing. It's like, cool. That's a version of the Riddler. Is what
Doug
it is.
will not give any creator credit to that role. Did you hear how Jim Carrey? He played the Riddler, and he acted, and that was in the movie.
I was stating facts. He was there. He got paid for his time, and then he showed up on screen as the contract stated.
God, you sound like Tommy Lee Jones. They needed each other.
They needed each other.
Oh, Tommy Lee Jones hated Jim Carrey.
You know what?
Hated him.
That tracks. I feel like that tracks completely.
Tommy Lee Jones seems like just maybe a level or two under Harrison Ford as far as curmudgeoniness. Like, I imagine, Harrison Ford's the king of like, what do you want? Go away. I want to be left alone.
Harrison will still like show up and do his job. I feel like you wouldn't get Tommy Lee Jones at any kind of Batman Forever reunion.
No.
Whereas Harrison's like, fine, I'll be in Tross, I'll do it. But I think that's the main difference.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
Sorry, Itoy07 said, "Are we going to acknowledge Colin Farrell as Penguin?" Holy crap!
I assume we were saving the best topic for last.
Yeah, so he's in it. But I saw you post a screenshot from the trailer as, because I was like, where's Colin Farrell? I didn't see it, but you posted that picture, and I was like, oh shit, is that supposed to be him? And then I saw the nose and everything. I'm like, oh, I guess that is the Penguin. That's interesting.
It literally, like, at my job, so it's, my job's job to break these stories. So we saw the trailer a little bit before everyone else did. And in our little work chat, I was like, no Penguin? Because Colin Farrell is my man. I loved this man since I was 13. And before then, when was American Outlaws? 11, since I was 11. But so I was like, no Penguin. Everyone at my job was like, no Penguin. And then the trailer came out again, and I saw the picture of him. I'm like, no, job. That's Colin Farrell. And I'm like, and I looked deep into the eyes because I know his eyeballs. And so then, like, I had to real quick, like, write up a new article because I already wrote, there's no Colin Farrell in the trailer. And then I had to write a whole, like, there is Colin Farrell in the trailer. But they did, those prosthetics are really good.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. it's like that looks good. It's not. It's still, again, my Danny DeVito's kind of more my style in terms of ridiculousness, but I can't wait. Like I can't like Colin Farrell being ugly. Who knew? So
Blasphemy.
Blasphemy. Well, I am interested to see too, like how they take these characters, because the Danny DeVito's obviously was very cartoony, as was most of the stuff back then. So very comic booky, if you will. And I'm very curious to see how they're going to take something like the Penguin and really just shove him into the real world. What does that look like?
Well, I mean, yeah. Go ahead, Jamie.
I feel like Matt Reeves has like talked about how like it's really early in he's like a mob boss and he doesn't like being called Penguin, so he hasn't really embraced it yet. There's also like an on-set leak photo of Colin with like bleach blonde hair. So I'm curious if we're going to see like a what happened to his face, or if that's like maybe that Colin was just walking around with bleach blonde hair that day. Who knows? He's Colin Farrell.
Do you think he was doing Grindelwald meets?
Ew.
No? Okay.
Well, in a perfect world where he played Grindelwald and Johnny Depp didn't play Grindelwald, but unfortunately we don't live in that world.
Wait, so. You don't like Johnny Depp as Grindelwald?
I don't like Johnny Depp as anything, first of all. But second of all,
I have so many follow-up questions.
would be an infinitely better Grindelwald. And in a perfect world, she who will not be named because we hate her now would allow Jude Law Dumbledore to actually be outspokenly gay and not, Grindelwald is more than a friend. Are you kidding me? So in a perfect world, Colin Farrell and Jude Law are kissing on screen as Dumbledore and Grindelwald, but unfortunately that's not the reality we live in.
Yeah, I think I talked about this when we talked about the Grindelwald, is just that the way they portrayed their relationship was either super heavy on the nose, but almost like off. Like I don't know how the best way to describe it. Like they were like, these guys are gay, but they also like pulled up short, like they have like this quick flash sequence where they're like holding hands, like as they're doing their blood pact. And then they just cut away, and it's just like, you guys are almost there. Right. Just do it. It's like the movie Alexander with Colin Farrell, right? Where they were really alluding to these Greek guys like to fuck. But, there's a part where I think Jared Leto comes up and, massages Colin Farrell's shoulders, and I was like, okay, here we go. This is where the fucking happens, and then it doesn't happen. And I was like, I thought I had heard that there's like some dude on dude action in this movie. It never happened, which is also, if you're gonna film it and not put it in the edit, that kind of sucks. You know what I mean? But I was just like, it was the same thing where I'm like, hey, just commit to it. All right, we've already come out and said Dumbledore is gay. Like, let's just embrace it. But we don't also have to make it like
exactly like it's ridiculous. Just saying it is meaningless. Show it. And you brought up the Mirror of Erised thing where they do the blood pact. You know that when you look into that mirror, you're supposed to see the thing you desire most in the world, and you're telling me that Dumbledore, a gay man, the thing he wants to do is swap blood like this? No, that's not what Dumbledore wants to do. Dumbledore wants to do a little bit of this. A little bit of that.
For those who are listening, there's some just pelvic action taking place right now.
Yeah. Hold on. Tell us
what should be
Dumbledore.
Happening.
Yeah.
Together they touch mouths and their wands stick out. And okay, listen, I could do this all day, but maybe I should.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because it was just one of those things where I'm like, look, we know what this is. Just own up to it, but also don't make it such like a dramatic thing. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I think we did an episode on the new Dark Crystal series on Netflix, right?
Yes.
And how the women characters in that film are just like, there's the matriarch of one of the Gelvin? The Gelfs, whatever they're called. I don't even remember now.
God, it's been so long. I was so into it.
Yeah. And there's just like, they're in power because this is what their culture is. I can understand exploring Dumbledore's sexuality a little bit more, because at that time, right? It's what, the 20s, the 30s? I don't know. The timeline's all screwy at this point. Who even knows? But to just, to make a big point, but then also to fall short is just, that's always like, oh, you guys missed your shot on that. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. It makes more sense now, though, now that we know who's writing this movie and what a piece of shit she is. So it all kind of makes sense, at least. And that is why I endorse not seeing Fantastic Beasts 3. Because you know what? It's not just that she sucks, it's that those movies aren't very good anyway.
I'm kind of with you on that one. Like, I watch them, I'm just kind of like, I feel, it's almost, to me, it kind of feels like the Star Wars prequels, you know? We're trying to reinvent.
It's missing that magic of the, and no pun intended, but it's missing that magic of the first movies, yeah.
We're over-explaining things that don't need to be over-explained, and there was a real opportunity to explore some stuff. But really the question I want to ask you, Jamie, is how does Dumbledore go from wearing a three-piece suit to being a robe guy in such a short amount of time in the wizarding world?
It's not, his clothes is not the question in my mind. It is, how did he age like that? Because in
Potion.
Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, we flash back to the 50s, and he is old man Dumbledore. So, like, what happened in 20 years that he went from Jude Law to like Richard Harris? Like,
I'll tell you what it is. When you're not allowed to express yourself in an honest way that eats at you, your soul starts to age more rapidly, and you turn into old man Dumbledore.
That's the best answer I've ever heard, and that's my new.
On top of that, he has to duel the person he loves. You know?
Yes.
Yeah, wouldn't that be so much better to watch?
Oh!
Like, you get to watch, like, we know
my
they're
God,
women,
yes.
we get to see this like passionate, like, they're not gonna fuck on screen because it's Harry Potter and it's still for kids, but like we can see them kiss gently, and so like you see them like, oh, we're kissing and we love each other, and then like an hour later they're dueling. That's cinema, but we don't
I'm just going to go real quick timestamp this here. I think this will be a good thing to do for the old highlight reel. I think that'll be wonderful.
Slotty says, Doug, you seem like a guy who would go full robe in a heartbeat if it were socially acceptable.
You know what? I'm not really a robe guy, to be honest with you. Like, it's one of those things where...
It surprises me.
Here's the thing. It's got to be a robe that's really going to stay closed. I haven't ever worn a robe that doesn't just come undone. And at that point, it's like, hey, look at my balls. Like,
why am I even wearing this? Doug,
why are we doing it?
Wear things underneath the robe. You
then
get
what's
that,
the
right?
point? What's the point? I want to feel the nice, comforting fabric on my nethers. All right?
Moving on.
Jamie will drink to that.
I'm kind of curious to hear what your thoughts were about the rest of the stuff that came out from, what is it, under the DC Fandome, whatever the fuck they're calling it.
That was, DC Fandome was amazing. Like, I'm more of a Marvel gal, but I was impressed with DC Fandome.
Yeah.
They nailed that shit. Like, Marvel, take note. Let's do a Marvel version of that, please.
So so we'll just kind of go through rapid fire. Wonder Woman 1984.
I'm an affront to my gender, but I don't really like the first Wonder Woman movie. I think the cast is amazing, but as a movie, it's not my favorite. I think this movie is going to be amazing. I'm jazzed. Kristen Wiig as a villain? Are you kidding? Yes. Pedro Pascal in anything? Yes, please. I'm just so excited. Chris Pine is back because Chris Pine is great, and she's great in this role. It's not her fault I don't like the first movie. It's not at all. And I'm excited to see their chemistry again. And the 80s. Again, the 80s are colorful and fun, and that's, like, again, my one requirement of these types of movies. So I think I'm about it. And Cheetah looked good because we hadn't seen her in the Cheetah yet, and it wasn't too catsy as so I have high hopes.
Real quick, what didn't you like about the first Wonder Woman movie?
I thought the third act was uninteresting. The way it all came together. I think I tweeted this once as a joke, but it's like it literally like I'm the first Avenger. Like, both movies end with an actor named Chris playing a guy named Steve in a plane during a world war, crashing and like sacrificing himself. Like, okay, I've seen this before. Also, I think that because at that point Zack Snyder had mostly made the DC movies, I think that Patty Jenkins was kind of beholden to his visual style a little, and I do not care for Zack Snyder movies. It's not personal. Again, his visuals I've never liked ever since 300. It's just not for me, and so I felt that it was just a little too Snydery at points. But I love the cast, everything about the cast. So that's who's coming back. I'm ready. I'm into it. I'm excited.
Yeah, I agree. Wonder Woman had a really good premise that I feel like it just didn't deliver on. You know, the idea that, killing one person isn't going to, solve your problems. but then she kills one person and it solves all the world's problems. Also followed up with she kills the god of war, and then the war ends. But then it's like, well, World War II definitely happens. Vietnam definitely happens. You know, like, you know.
Right.
Can anyone explain that? Like, so, but anyway, you know, it would definitely had some flaws story-wise, but there were some elements that I really enjoyed, but I also don't really enjoy fish out of water movies too much, you know, because that's where they get the comedic effect, where she's, you know, here's this woman in 1900s in England, and she's just like, what's up with these dresses? It's like, okay, got it. You know, it's just, I'm like, she was a little too overt for me for someone who's like a warrior who would seem to be more like on guard, but she's just like wandering through like, oh, look, a baby. It's like, okay, all right, cool. Comedy. I know we got to throw it in here, but I'm like, all right, whatever. But great moments in that movie. So I agree. I think I'm looking forward
Lucy
to.
Davis.
What's that?
Lucy Davis, I think, was amazing in the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
The first trailer did not have me excited for Wonder Woman 1984, but the second trailer completely flipped my outlook on it. I'm like, okay, I can see where this is going. First trailer annoyed me actually, because I was like, wow, they're really ham-fisting some of this humor.
Mhm.
And this one I was like, okay, like you can start to see where they're weaving some of the moments in, and it's a little bit more organic. They're using the time period. So I was much more excited for this one. And with the Kristen Wiig thing, I love the fact I like when actors stretch themselves and they take on roles that we've never seen them in before. We've seen her do like a dramedy role in the Skeleton Twins, but we've never seen her go like full on like evil, like, and again, I know evil from a comic book realm, but still it's going to be a completely new, you know, a side of Wiig that we haven't seen. So I'm interested to see that. What about, I mean, what?
What?
I just hope we're going to talk about Suicide Squad.
I didn't actually see or hear anything about it from that. I saw a minimum amount of stuff. So tell me about Suicide Squad. Tell me what's going on with it. Break the news.
What a good cast. I mean, it's such a fun, good cast. We got to learn who everybody's playing, except we still don't know who's King Shark. We know Steve Agee. Is that how you say his last name?
Sure.
His last name Steve Agee. He was the on-set King Shark, but we don't know who voices him, and we still don't know who Taika Waititi is playing. So some people think that he's voicing King Shark, but I don't think that's true. I think Taika is going to be the villain, but we don't know yet.
I like that.
But I mainly only care about Harley Quinn. Birds of Prey changed my life. I love that movie so much, and I was really worried James Gunn was going to digress her character development from that movie, but the new footage showed her old Property of Joker tattoo now says Property of No One, so that gives me hope that he's going to do good by her. But also, apparently, there's more explosions than every Marvel movie combined. I feel
Jesus Christ.
I'm sure that's what he said.
Did Michael Bay co-produce this?
So and then and the producer compared it to like a 70s war movie, which I'm skeptical about that, but it does like have that, like they're in the kind of a jungly thing, exploding and guns. Some people it's too many characters. I've read some of my friends like it's too much, but I love a big cast, and I trust James Gunn. But you know what's funny? He kept saying over and over again, this is my best movie I've ever had, the most fun I've ever had, the best cast I've ever worked with. And it's like, dude, you're about to go back to Guardians 3. Like, calm down.
And they fought to get you back.
Yeah. Like, maybe like be a little mindful that you're about to go back to that cast, because you are kind of shitting on them.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean about big casts. Like, I'm all for it as long as I get to care about them, right? I've seen so many movies. Like, again, the first Suicide Squad was just like, I don't know these characters. I don't care about them. It was the same thing that happened with, like, Infinity War and, you know, Endgame. Is like, there's so many characters, but I had hope for those because I'm like, I know who these characters are, so I don't need a lot of lead up or whatever. They can all exist and show up. I'm like, cool. I don't need to know what's going on with Drax. Like, I already know. I know who he is. But it's like, if Captain Boomerang shows up, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? You know, Slingshot, you know, or what was it, Slipknot? That guy lasted, like, what, 2 minutes in the movie? Yeah, that movie was problematic, to say the least. So I like James Gunn. I like his style. And I'm curious to see what he's going to do with it. So, yeah.
What about, we didn't see a lot, but I know on his Instagram account, he's been posting a shitload of like teasery stuff, and mostly animated stuff, but The Rock in Black Adam. I'm actually very curious for this one.
A lot about Black Adam in general, except that he's related in relation to Shazam. That's like it from what I know. But I do think it's cool that we saw the JSA. Even though again I don't know a ton about them, but I like the idea that they're going to be involved somehow. But I love The Rock, and anyone who says that The Rock plays every character in every movie has never seen Central Intelligence, where he's wearing a unicorn shirt the whole movie.
It's a great
silly. It's a movie where he's the goofy one and Kevin Hart is the straight man, and I think that's brilliant. And I love that movie.
Absolutely.
And it was written by Ike Barinholtz, who I think is a great comedic guy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a big Ike fan. But it's The Rock. It's finally time. The Rock deserves to be a hero or an anti-hero in any capacity, and I'm stoked for it. But we'll see. He keeps like, I promise it's going to be amazing. But we'll see.
I'll say that I was talking to what we have our DC guy who we always have on is Rob Ballmeyer, and I was talking to him earlier today about this, and one of the things I had said was that I implicitly trust The Rock when he gets his hands on a property, because $7 Production, his production company, is one of the people helming this, and so I feel like he really has a good feel for how to make a fun, like very watchable action movie, and I don't think he's led us astray yet. Like Doug will back us up. Like Rampage is one of Doug's favorite movies. It's sitting in his Apple. It's sitting in his Apple account right now.
Neither have I.
I guess I should watch it.
But a fan of this podcast bought it for me because I was like, why the fuck did they make this movie? Nothing against, The Rock, but I was just like, this is based on a video game that was
Hell yeah.
I was just like, what the fuck? So an
arcade game, Doug.
I'm sorry, an arcade game. That was also something I played on the Nintendo Entertainment System when I was a kid. And I ranted and raved on it for so long that someone bought it for me. And I was like, I have to accept this. But I scroll by it all the time. My daughter always goes, hey, Dad, that's your movie. And I was like, we haven't watched it. She said, that's the gorilla movie. That's Dad's movie. I'm like, all right. She's like, do you like it? I'm like, I haven't watched it, Natalie. Maybe someday you and I can watch it together. I don't know.
You have to watch it. Someone paid a good $2.99 so that you could have it.
That's why I accepted it. The person was like, I was afraid he wouldn't take it. I'm like, you bought me a movie. I'm going to take it. Now, when I watch it is up to me. That's on my time. So
that can be a whole episode, a whole critique.
We talked about it.
Yes, I'm telling you.
Because Justin hasn't seen it either.
Yeah.
I know.
Watch party!
But no, I'm and the fact that he's taking it from like a wrestling perspective and he's calling out the rest of the people in the DCEU, and he's just like, the power structure has shifted and basically watch your asses. I'm like, this could be fun because he knows how to drum up that friction. He and Kevin Hart do it all the time. They're constantly at each other, and I love it.
I write about that a lot at work. Like if it's a slow news day, it's like Kevin Hart took a jab at The Rock today, and it's so cute.
Yeah,
those two get along. I love the shit they talk to each other. It's really funny. Each always says, "I would totally watch Party Rampage with you guys. That would be awesome."
Boom! I think we're starting to see a plan form here, guys.
Oh no!
Yeah. Count me in.
And then can we?
I don't have a lot going on.
Can we also just real quick talk about, maybe you can shed some light on this. I didn't know if Snyder was doing like in his Snyder cut, is he doing like a Lighthouse-esque version? Why is it in 4:3? What the fuck was going on with the hodgepodge, all these clips? Explain it to me like I'm 5, because I feel like that's my IQ level after I watched this trailer.
Okay, as someone, again, as we've previously discussed, not a Snyder fan, so every DC Snyder movie I've only seen once. All I know is that it's hilarious that he picked that song because he already used it as a sex scene in Watchmen. And also Halloween on. It's just like such a basic bitch move. And I'm excited for the Snyder Cut fans. Like, I'm excited for those guys. They worked hard to get this, and I respect that they're getting it. And I'll watch it because it's literally my job. But it's a 4-hour movie. Like, I just cannot
unnecessary.
I saw that movie and I could not tell you literally one thing that happens in it. Could not tell you. And Joss Whedon's one of my favorite creators of all time. Buffy's my favorite show of all time. And if I know that right now he's a little questionable behind the scenes, and that sucks. But that aside, if whatever he did couldn't do it for me, Zack Snyder is not saving this movie for me. The one thing that's cool that we saw is Iris West. We're gonna get to see Iris, who wasn't in the other cut, which is the Flash's future wife. And I guess we're seeing Darkseid.
Yeah.
Darkseid. I never know how to say
I never either. Like, yeah.
I think I was corrected specifically, and I was told it was Darkseid. So I will never say it any other way.
Okay, I think it is, but it's spelled not like
exactly. Thank you. It's spelled stupid.
It's Darkseid.
It's so all I know is it's 4 hours, and I don't know, you guys. I feel like
you make it seem like you had like something to do with this, and you feel guilty about it.
Sorry, it's a thing.
That's a big part of it is such a big deal at my job. Like I have to write about it, and I try to write with enthusiasm because those are people reading the articles. But my God, I could not care less about this.
I just want to know I know no one's been able to answer this. Why is it in 4:3?
Oh, I don't. I have no.
Why the fuck was it cropped?
I genuinely did not know that until you said it. So I'm sorry that I cannot answer that question. I can look in the back end of my work and see if we've written an article about it, but I don't.
If you can find that for me, I would be forever grateful because it's so upsetting to me.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Like I'm with Jamie on this. Like, hey, I'm happy for the DC fans. You know, I just want to say, don't get your hopes up. I don't think this is going to be the answer to that movie. For what it was. I don't care how much money you pour into that. You can only change it so much from what it originally was before you have a brand. It's like the ship of Theseus, guys. You know, let's go back to the paradox we had all those years ago when Jamie was on here. As you shave away at the boat, at what point does it just become a new boat? Is it the same boat? Who knows? I don't care if they put $30 million into this. Like, You're not going to be able to change it that much. Like, you can't. That movie, the story and everything was still bad, all right? And I stand by the shot of Batman holding his little plastic gun and the final fight when Superman shows up and he gives one of the dumbest reactions, which is like, as like, you know, Superman shows up. Like,
he Batcam right there.
And actually, I think we used that screenshot on one of our episode thumbnails. Like, that's how much I hated him. Like, we're going to promote this. Yep. I just don't think it's going to be the answer. And I think anyone who's hoping for this to be, oh, we're doing a new version of it. And like, no, you want a new movie. You're not going to get a new movie. This is just going to be a longer movie. And there'll be a lot more stuff in it. And I hope it's better. I really do. But don't get your hopes up. That's what I would say.
So 2 things on that. One, Slotty said, my favorite part is the Cavill's $30 million non-mustache. So basically, I'm wondering how much of that $30 million they actually applied to the lip.
Yeah.
Is my question. Number 2. Go ahead, please.
Keep going. I just want to say I love Mission Impossible so much. I mean, I love those movies. In quarantine, I think I've watched each movie at least 3 times. And as someone who loves Fallout and could care less about the rest, I'm like, give me Cavill doing anything else. I think it's hilarious that is what ruined the movie, is that his Mission Impossible stuff. This was not an interesting comment. I just wanted to let that note. What's the second question?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, because Snyder has gone on record saying that he's like, what you guys saw was only a quarter of what I shot. And so presumably, Doug, we will be getting a quote unquote new movie because there's that much footage.
I'm sure there's a lot of footage out there of a lot of different movies that wasn't used. I mean, I don't think it's good.
You are correct. There is a lot of footage of a lot of movies that wasn't used.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I hope $30 million stitches it all together in Zack Snyder's favorite way. Jervis says, Jamie loves Mission Impossible. Marry me? Oh, Jared.
If you guys do have the chance, or anyone listening does have the chance, there's an article. If I can find it, I'll post it on the MindGap socials. But there was an article written that actually goes through and details the what happened in the back rooms with his mustache. How each movie company was trying to out negotiate the other one.
Wow.
Like, so whoever was doing Mission Impossible was like, nope, You guys have to digitally remove it. And then Warner was like, okay, what if we remove it, but then we pay you so you guys can digitally put it back on? And they're like, no, what if? And there was a legitimate, like, this was some executive. He put on his 3-piece suit, and then there was, like, he went into it and he goes, okay, here's what I'm doing today. I'm fucking negotiating for Henry Cavill's lip hair. That's what my day is.
I find it amazing because that sounds like a sketch, right? That
It
sounds
does.
like an Onion article of like negotiations and high levels are taking place today over Henry Cavill's mustache.
all these businessmen and women who went to Harvard, really fucking fancy degrees, and they're arguing over a lip broom. Yay. So basically, we got a lot of shit to look forward to with DC. A lot of shit coming out.
Yeah.
What are you more
That's what we
excited
hear.
for, the DC stuff or the potential Marvel stuff that's coming around the corner?
Jamie?
Yeah.
Well, as Doug, you and I discussed earlier, Elizabeth Olsen is my wife. And so the fact that we're getting WandaVision, and not only is it a show starring my favorite woman on the planet, I've seen every movie she's ever made. That's not an exaggeration. I'm obsessed with her. Not only is she starring in the show, but it's like you're doing a bunch of sitcom homages. It's like they catered this program.
This
to
is
Jamie
perfect.
Jirak.
This is your perfect show. It just dawned on me. I'm like, this is perfect for you.
Not only that, but if you were to say, Jamie, who in the Marvel Cinematic Universe are you? Like, which character are you? I would easily say Darcy Lewis, and we have not seen her since Thor 2, and she's coming back for WandaVision. And Catherine Hahn is in it. I'm just so that WandaVision, give it to me all day. And then she's gonna be in Doctor Strange 2, directed by Sam Raimi. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Your energy is like palpable, and I feel I'm so excited for Doctor Strange too. I'm like, yes, I really want to see that movie. That's so good. Jervis goes, oh, I see. She's already married. Sorry, buddy. Hey, man.
All about Elizabeth. That's why I'm moving to LA, just to meet Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Sorry, Slotty also said, what are you doing at work today, honey? I'm going to war about a mustache. I'll be home late.
Oh, the Mustache Wars. It could have like multiple meanings, but I love that. That should be a movie, The Mustache Wars.
It's like the sequel to the Emu Wars.
Oh, come on, man. The Australians have been through enough. Jamie, did you know that
I'm sorry, guys. I did this.
In the early to mid 1900s, there were emus in Australia, and they actually had a war with the humans, and the emus won.
What? That's amazing. Where's that movie?
Yeah, right? Jared, where's that movie?
Apparently, emus are also bulletproof.
Yeah, they are highly resistant to bullets.
Yeah, figure that one out. They're terrifying birds.
Or
all I know is that the machine gun squads. Yeah, they would fire like the machine guns at them. Now part of it is their machine guns would jam and they weren't very good, but the emus was just soaked up the bullets and like kept on going. So
they turned them back into raw energy and shot it into like.
They took the kinetic energy and they just fired it back tenfold.
Right. You remember X-Men First Class, right?
It's basically that as emus. That's that's really what that character's based on, is on emus. So
right. Oh my god.
This is a great moment. I'm glad we got to have this.
Wow.
Other great moment, I hear that the Powerpuff Girls is possibly or on the slate to become a live action movie with executive producer Diablo Cody. How amazing is that?
Love it.
I have to admit, I've never seen the Powerpuff Girls, but
that surprises me.
Okay. It came out. Wait, why is that? I have a daughter, but she watches Avatar: The Last Airbender, which who am I to tell her no to that? I mean, oddly enough, not a big fan of Legend of Korra. Kind of surprised. I think it's got a little more scarier for her for some reason. That first season, she's like, I'm not a fan. I'm like, okay.
I'm sorry to change the subject, but have you shown her Steven Universe?
I have not.
Okay, that's my favorite, and I'm gonna say throw that down right next. Try her with that one.
You got it. I'm open to everything. She loves Avengers. She loves Endgame. She's totally into that stuff. So my favorite thing is when she watches Black Panther and they're at the the challenge day scene and all like the characters are kind of doing this while they're chanting. She does that along with the TV. She's like, like doing that. I'm like, that's my girl.
Amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
cute. I remember when she was born.
I know, right? Because that was around. Yeah, that happened. That happened when we were doing conservatory. Yeah, that was 4.5 years ago.
She's like a real human now.
Yeah.
Oh, she is a little adult.
Yeah,
It's
she has
amazing.
thoughts and feelings about a lot of things. She watched the Batman trailer and said, "Dad, this is boring." And I said, "Get the fuck out of the room." I was like, "Jill, get her out of here."
Get her out of here.
I would love her review of Steven Universe, so let me know.
Well, I tell you what, she'll give you a review of some of the shows she watches on Netflix, like Spirit. She loves that. It's about a show about a horse. She also likes Octonauts. And, she likes some other stuff, some other movies, some things that I'm like, do we have to watch this right now?
Schindler's List.
Schindler's List, big fan. Schindler's List,
Right.
big fan. She really gets it. She gets the atrocities of the human condition and then goes, Octonauts! Creature report. Creature report. Dad, did you know dolphin mothers know the sound of their baby? Like, instantly they know exactly where it is, where they make noise. They know that's their baby. I'm like, you're fucking smart. You're a smart fucking kid.
I didn't even know that, child.
Yeah, right? She tells us all sorts of stuff.
Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, that's a show that's becoming live action, and people are excited about it. Hey, Jamie, Justin, you two familiar with Powerpuff Girls?
I know of them. I know they wear 3 different colors, and that's all I know.
Mm-hmm. And they have power. They're like, they punch.
It's true.
I definitely watched some Powerpuff Girls when I was younger. It was not a obsession or anything. It was no like Power Rangers. But I enough that like I am jazzed. A live action, but it's not just like a live action. They're in their 20s and they're jaded because they lost their childhood to being Powerpuff Girls. Are you kidding me? That sounds amazing. And if one of them isn't queer, I'm gonna be pissed. I'd imagine it would have to be the brunette, who's I don't remember which. Bubbles is the blonde. Is Buttercup is the brunette? I think.
Sure.
She better be queer or I'll not watch it. If one of them is not kissing women, I'm out. But it's the CW. I have no doubt that's happening. But Diablo Cody is great, and I think that's I assume she's also going to be writing for the show, and I'm into it, and I like the way the CW I enjoy Riverdale immensely. It gives me some kind of feeling that Twilight gives me, just like this pure joy of these ridiculous teens doing ridiculous things, and I'm so invested in how silly it is, and I'm ready for this program, and I hope that it comes to fruition and is a success.
I'm excited for it just because I love the idea of, because there was that unauthorized film of like the Power Rangers, right? That was like what happened after the Power Rangers. It was like a 15-minute short. If you haven't seen it, Jamie, it's on YouTube. Check it out. It's got James Vanderbeek. It's got what's her name? She played Starbuck in the newer version of yes, she's in it. It's phenomenal. It's like these teenagers who were traumatized by what they saw and what actually happened to them. Fucking awesome. And the people who made it were like, this is not cool. Like the original owners of the copyright, this is not cool. This is not what the Power Rangers are. I'm like, this is what they would be if teenagers are thrown into intergalactic battles, and then they were told like deal with it. I'm like, yeah, like that is a far more interesting story to me, is like, hey, you had these powers, you fought stuff, and now what? It's almost like a child celebrity, right? That's just is given this power, this fame, this money, and then they have to deal with the consequences after the fact. It's like, what do you do? Like, that's got to be psychologically scarring to you, which I find fascinating.
I'm into it. I'm so into it.
Yeah.
And I can't.
This is an iteration I would probably watch, the Powerpuff Girls.
I don't think I'd get a lot of the backstory, but I'm like, I'll check it out. I'd dabble.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe I'll watch Powerpuff Girls because I haven't seen it probably since it was on, and I'm always looking for an excuse to watch it. So I'm like, maybe I'll. They gotta have the monkey dude back, right? I'm just so interested how this movie live action. And then the professor guy, he's got to be like a handsome-y kind of suave, sexy, what's his name? Who plays Carlisle in Twilight? Why can't I think of his name? Mike Dexter. I can't think of his name. Oh, God,
Matt
because I had
Richardson.
two. No, that's not it.
Michael C. Hall.
No.
Hank
No one in the chat?
Storkblatt.
Storkblatt.
Handsome man being like, but like, are they estranged from him? Like, he's got to play an important role, and I'm interested to see if, like, do they hate him? What's
Right.
his deal? I don't know. This whole concept is very fascinating to me, and I'm looking forward to it.
James Marsden.
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 No.
Okay.
What?
No.
That might be who. No, he wouldn't be in Twilight. It was.
Carlisle was the best part of Twilight. I feel like you and Jared are like.
Charlie is the best part of Twilight. Charlie.
Wait.
Billy Burke.
Someone said it is James Marsden.
James Marsden does not play Carlisle.
No.
James Marsden, like, as an X-Men in Westworld, James
Yeah.
Marsden? Yeah.
Carlisle, Twilight. I spelled
Yeah, I
Carlisle
know.
very wrong.
He's Mike Dexter and Can't Hardly Wait. It's
Played by Peter Fasolini
yes. Oh, I hate myself for forgetting. Yes.
or
Anyway,
Faccellini. One of the two.
I picture him as like the professor. That's all I'm saying. But maybe he's too young. I don't know.
I'm very excited. That's all I know. Powerpuff.
I'm excited at how excited you are, Jamie. And that's
Right.
just like, seriously, like your energy about all this stuff just makes me happy. I'm like, I'm excited too. This is so cool.
I do have a lot. Like, that's all I have going for me. It's like I get excited about the easiest shit.
No, it's good because you know what? Like it's nice to find this world is dark and full of terrors right now, and to find something like a movie trailer or something that brings you joy, or to hear like a story, like I think you got to balance between, you know, escapism, like all the way, like I don't want to deal with this, and then also like, you know, being around for the world, but also taking that weight off your shoulders. So I get excited about this. I haven't been excited about some of this stuff in a while because I feel like after Endgame, I'm like, I don't know what else is out there. I don't know what else anyone could do. This completed me. That whole thing, it was perfect. I'm like, everything else, whatever. But that, I can die now. I'm at peace. Like, so I'm curious to see what else can sort of get me all jazzed up. So
there was one other thing that came out from the DC. Is it DC Fandome? That's what it's
called. Under the Dome.
Right? Yeah, Under the Dome. Yes. There's one more thing that came out from that, and it flew very much under the radar. But I'm very curious to see what your take is on it. I think it was called The Throwdown. Oh yeah, we have theme music for it now. The last time you were here, I think we just screamed it.
Yeah, that's what we did.
I know.
Last time we did this, I didn't really know the topic super well, so I'm a little nervous. Okay.
I think you're gonna be okay on this one.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. We got you. we got your back. So today's Throwdown, in honor of our very esteemed guest, today's Throwdown is going to be Agent Phil Coulson versus Nick Fury.
Yeah.
All right, Jamie, what do you think?
In
a fight to the death.
Fight.
In a physical fight to the death.
Okay, so honestly, okay, if we're up to date on current Nick Fury and current Phil Coulson, hands down, no question, it's going to be Phil Coulson because he now is an LMD with Chronicom technology. The man is a fierce robotic machine, and he could take down. I'm sorry, Samuel Jackson, you're a very badass person, but you're a human being, and he couldn't stand a chance against the current Phil Coulson. If we're talking if we're going back to season 5 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. before he died, he'd still win because he's still got a robotic hand and he can do a lot of cool shit with it, like get a Captain America shield and stuff. If we're going back to pre-season 2 Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when he's just regular old Phil Coulson, then maybe Nick Fury stands a chance. But No.
You don't
Easy
think
question.
you don't think Nick Fury could like prepare for him? You know, like he's got to know about him and what his weaknesses are.
Here's the thing. Let me just say this, okay? According to the comic books, Nick Fury's aging has been slowed greatly by the Infinity Formula, a serum created by Dr. Berthold Sternberg. He, I don't know. I think it helps stave off dementia for a while. I don't know. He's a spy. He knows. Okay, here we go. All right, I just had to get to it. He's seasoned in unarmed combat and armed combat. He was a heavyweight boxer in the Army, holds a black belt in Taekwondo, a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu. He's further honed his unarmed skills sparring with Cap. Military advisor. He's got all sorts of He's a tactician. He's a weapons expert. You know, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., so he's got intel on everybody.
Right. He's got level 9 access.
I mean,
what you got, Coulson got?
Alfonso Mack McKenzie is the current director of S.H.I.E.L.D., according to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You're probably right. And if Phil was still normal Joe, Clark Gregg, human man, yes. Nick, I mean, obviously, he's Samuel Jackson. Yeah, we could beat him down. But current Phil, where we last saw Phil Coulson, he's literally a robot meets alien AI machine man. Like he's there's no contest. But if we're going back a few years, obviously he couldn't.
Well, I don't know. So I did find a website where they put these two people against each other, and they did give Coulson a shitload of credit on here. Apparently, expert martial artist, expert marksman, expert spy, and a very adept at a master tactician, interrogator, and so like his stats are up there. I was actually more surprised, how good he actually is. Kind of thought he was. I mean, we saw what he did in the convenience store, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in that short, right? A funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer. Yeah. So he can whomp some ass, no doubt.
But Doug, isn't Nick Fury like in charge of S.W.O.R.D. now? I mean, he's out in space. He's got that space shit.
Probably. I mean, yeah. But what sucks? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ended in a way that it's very clearly Daisy Johnson running S.W.O.R.D., but they're not allowed to use S.W.O.R.D., so she's just in space, and they're like jokingly calling them the Astro Ambassadors. But it's like it's really S.W.O.R.D., but it's not. But you're right. Yeah, I would assume that the ending we got in Was It Far From Home is probably Samuel Jackson doing some S.W.O.R.D. shit. I'm pretty sure they're gonna have S.W.O.R.D. in WandaVision. Another reason why that's going to be the best show I've ever seen in my whole
life. Someone else asked. Slotty says, "Is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. considered canon?" I would assume so.
Great question. I would love to answer that. Up until the very end of season 5, it is firm canon. Gets a little gray because they don't acknowledge the snap. But the way that the final season ended, they kind of talk about the quantum realm, and there's a lot of time travel and stuff. So I think that we're still calling it canon, and we're just believing that the last 2 seasons are they veered into a different timeline. Whether or not that's true, questionable, but I firmly say it's canon. I mean, the whole show I loved it from the beginning, but it got its real legs when it tied in with Winter Soldier. And it had a lot of references through that. It even really referenced Infinity War, but because season 5 it might have been canceled. They didn't know they had to end it there. They couldn't just end the series on a snap. So they didn't acknowledge it, and they came back a year later, and I'm sure they didn't know at the time that Endgame would be 5 years later. So it gets a little gray, but I'm a firm believer that yes, it is canon.
Nice. Slotty goes, she suddenly turned into a trial lawyer. This is not her first time with this question.
Literally written articles about it.
I guess, where are we, Doug? What do you think? Where are we with these characters? Like, do you think it's Coulson? Is it bio Coulson? Or is it?
I think it's got to be. I think it's them in their current state. Like, it's
okay.
Fury. I like to think that straight up just fight, right? Like, Coulson will beat his ass, right? But I like to think that Nick Fury would have something up his sleeve. Like, he's the kind of guy that's, like, mostly prepared for things. and I like to think that he would, and maybe he does. I mean, is it established? I obviously hadn't make all the way through the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but
which you should say is the best show ever. My third favorite show ever.
Is Fury aware that Coulson's still alive?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He shows up in season 1. He knows Fury's alive. Or I'm sorry.
I meant to say but does he know? Does he know that Coulson is like
he puts Coulson in charge of rebuilding S.H.I.E.L.D. Right?
Yeah. So Fury shows up in like 2 episodes in season 1, and then it's kind of after Winter Soldier happens and whatever. Coulson becomes the director, and we don't really hear much about Fury. We talk there, he's referenced a lot, like there's a lot of stuff about his toolbox in season 2, but after that we don't hear a lot about him. But interestingly, so the show ends, the character Mac, played by Henry Simmons, he is the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it's funny because he's got this like big long coat, and I asked him, I was like, did they do that on purpose, like you got like this Nick Fury look? And he was like, no, actually I was supposed to look even more like Fury, and then they realized, oh no, we don't want that, so that was like a toned down version. No, Fury is definitely knows the goings on, but again, the show, they weren't allowed to do a lot of stuff, and they weren't even allowed to like reference Loki's staff. They wanted to have MODOK this last season, and they were given the green light, and that was taken away. There are just so many things they were not allowed to do, which sucks as a Marvel show. But ultimately, for me, it's more of a Whedon family show, because Marissa Tancherone and Jed Whedon are the showrunners, and Jeffrey Bell, who did a lot of Angel with Joss, like to me it's more of that than Marvel, but it's still they do as much as they can, and there are a lot of cool stuff. Like season 5, there's a lot of Kree. They do what they can, and impressive, and on their own. Like I cannot talk up the show enough. I truly, I just got a big old tattoo in honor of it ending. It's so good. That's
amazing. I love it. So I'll say this. I'd say it would a lot would have to go in Nick Fury's favor for him to win. He would have to have as much advance notice. He would have to know a lot about. He'd have to know Coulson inside out. I feel like if he has that intel, he can prepare for Coulson. But if he doesn't, I think Coulson is just as intelligent, is cunning. He's very tactical. So I'd say unless Nick Fury has some sort of aces in sleeve, like Slotty says, he'll have an Iron Man suit ready once things get dicey. Unless he has something at his disposal. I'd say
if these two are just thrust into it, like are they around the corner and all of a sudden they're forced to fight each other?
Yeah, I'd give it to Coulson if that was the case. So
especially if it's Bio Coulson, 100%. Yeah. So are we saying Agent Coulson for the win?
Yep.
Agent Coulson.
Was that one better, Jamie?
Yes, the last time I was real not into it.
Oh, we've come a long way.
You guys, thank you. I feel like I talked a lot because sometimes I do podcasts and I'm not allowed to talk, so I maybe overcompensated. I appreciate you.
Oh no, this is the exact podcast where we're like, let's get excited about this shit and let's talk about this. Like I love your fervor because it also gets me like when you had say something like, let's dive into that. Let's talk about Dumbledore. Like
absolutely.
Let's talk about that shit. Slotty says we really prefer when these two get drowned out. Thanks, bud. But this is the part of the show where we like to turn over to you if there's anything you'd like to promote. If anyone wants to follow you, if there's anything you'd like to recommend, the floor is yours.
Oh my goodness, nothing to really. I like to tweet, so you can follow me on Twitter at Jamie Cinematics. And obviously, I just said it a million times, but you guys, I know people do not think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a good show, but I promise you, it's amazing. Even if you have to start at season 1, episode 17, fine, whatever, start there. You don't have to. I don't think so. I think it's all good. But it is, again, in my top 3 of all time. It's amazing. Watch that. Other than that, just be socially conscious. Defund the police. That's all I have to say.
Just gonna slide that in there real quick. Just like, hey, by the way, bam. I love it. It's so good. Justin, what do you got?
I got 3 for you. On Disney Plus, The Imagineering Story. It goes through the it goes through from when Disneyland was built and then all the way up to today and what they're looking at in the future, specifically following the Imagineers. So the engineers who have figured out the math and the science behind the animatronics and all the rides and all the everything, and how when different regimes came in and they almost completely got taken away and the parks almost shut down. And it's just a really, Disney can be obviously an evil corporation, but I do think that this is an interesting, because you really get to know the people that worked on the parks, and it's kind of interesting to hear their story. The first episode, I was like, this is all right. And then after the second one, I binged the next 4 because I just got hooked. So it's a good show. I'd also recommend Old Guard on Netflix. I thought I was blown away with how much I actually liked it. I thought it was going to be, it's going to be a good action movie. It was really fucking good. And then I actually kind of it was predictable, but I kind of liked An American Pickle.
Okay.
The Seth Rogen
I just
movie. What'd you think?
I watched it today. I didn't love it.
No?
I thought Seth was great. I'm a big Seth fan. I loved watching him play 2 parts.
Yeah.
But I found it to be a bit boring. I think if you're
it's
going to
not
watch
a
Seth
great
Rogen,
movie.
Long Shot with him and Charlize. That kind of
That one is amazing too.
Long Shot. Other than the ridiculous sex scene where she comes in 2 seconds, it's a pretty perfect movie.
Not accurate.
False.
I just poop ejaculated my moist missile. There you go.
So yes, again, it's not a great movie, but I do think that there's a couple interesting themes that I think are explored.
Jared would like to recommend Tenet because he's already seen it all the way in Australia. So
Fucker.
How is RPATS? Tell me real quick.
Yeah, how is our Pats? Write it out, Jared. Let us know.
While you're writing it out, Jared, let's not forget you said this.
Fuck me, slutty.
You did
So
say
there's
that.
that.
So
Yeah.
sorry, Jamie. Context is not needed. I would. It was an innocuous quote that I was like, "That's out of context. Let's make that a soundbite." And
fuck me, slutty.
He says our Pats was real good. He said "real" in all caps. So
Cool.
yeah, he looks pretty cool in that movie. I would recommend, for starters, I'm way, way, way late to the game on this. Probably about 4 years too late. Rick and Morty. It's on HBO Max. Fucking phenomenal show. Highly recommend that shit. I'm in season 3 right now. Jamie's like, Jesus Christ, man, where you been? I'm like, I know.
Having a child, I get it.
Yeah, I was like, I just never got a chance to watch it. But I am now, and it's fucking great. Also, for the Dungeons & Dragons nerds out there, there is a new source book that will be coming out November 17th called Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. And this takes, amongst other things, of adding spells and things like that. It's a brand new way to create your characters that basically wipes the slate clean. You pick your race, you choose whatever you want, you can build it any way you want. That is Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, coming out November 17th. I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun. I was like, why is this turn into like a truck rally like commercial, or like Labor Day weekend, come buy your couch or else we're lighting it on fire. I don't know.
You talk about the music, the bed music?
Yeah, I love it.
If you don't like it, I have other ones.
I haven't heard this one.
I know. I didn't know which one worked, and so there's that one.
Coming out November 17th is Tasha's Cauldron of Everything.
The Dungeon Karens are heading back into the dungeon. Right?
Will they roll right? Okay, I'll think about that.
Right? And then
Ooh.
So I picked a couple of these.
Don't you have another one that's like only one note? That's like pretty intense?
Fuck.
You don't have to. You don't have to do that.
Nope.
It's okay.
Nope, it's on now.
No, you don't have to do it. Okay.
I do have it. Yeah.
Oh,
You're
Jesus.
right. I absolutely
Boom.
Nope.
What was that?
That's a YouTube ad. I didn't pull the clip yet. So
this is totally gonna be worth it. I mean, I can feel it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's one more. There it is.
Do you know what that is, Jamie? Can you recognize that song?
Can you name that tune, Jamie?
Real quick, a little fast.
I'll do it one more time. Okay. And this is it.
Okay. You know, it actually does sound familiar, but you know what I'm bad at? Any sounds and music.
It's Trapped, Headstrong.
Look at that face. She's like, nope, don't know it.
Fair enough.
You know what album I've listened to this year? The 2020 albums. I've listened to the Witcher soundtrack and the Eurovision soundtrack.
Nice. Yes.
Both are okay. No, Jared, it's not Wake Me Up by Linkin Park. Awesome. Well, I want to say, Jamie, thank you so much for taking the time to hang with us. This was so much fun, and it's so nice to connect with you again.
I hope we don't wait another 4 years.
Absolutely not. We will be reaching out to you with your thoughts on pretty much anything that's coming out in the near future. So we'll be like, Jamie, what do you think about this? Jamie, what do you think about that? And you're always welcome to come back and hang with us. It'll be so much fun.
This was great.
Awesome.
And I like that people were involved. Hi to all of you watching live. That's cool.
Yeah, we got a great community here. So these folks are awesome. So always appreciate them hanging out with us. So with that being said, I want to say, Justin, thank you.
Douglas, wait, aren't you going to go tell people where they can find us now?
Right. Jesus. Wow. I skipped a beat, didn't I? Guys, Did you know you can follow us on social medias at MindGap Podcast? Also, check out our YouTube channel. We post highlights from our streams, from our podcast episodes, as well as full episodes. You can also be sure to check us out on twitch.tv/MindGap Podcast. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Time, we record our new podcast. And Saturday nights at 8 p.m., we do our video game streams. So come hang out, be cool, chat along with us, and have a good time. And also, you can find Justin. I almost called you Dustin. Justin in the digital realm.
You messed it up, Doug.
I done fucked up.
Last time.
Done fucked it up.
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Justin_Michael, spelled Mikel. It is the fun way of spelling it. And while you're in the online realm, check us out on
Spotify,
on Apple Podcast, on Google Podcast, on Stitcher, all the places you can find and consume podcasts. Podbean, apparently we're on there too, whatever that is. So find us there. Share us around, like, subscribe, review, rate, all those things. The big one is sharing. If you like an episode, you hear something that's funny and you're like, I know someone who likes dorky stuff too. Copy that link, paste it out there. It goes such a long way. 2east8th.com/mindgap. You can find our back catalog there as well. And then just keep an eye on all 2 East 8th's social media because we are nearing, I've been telling Doug, I've been giving him some updates. Sid Penrose is getting dangerously close to being done, and we are continuing to film. And I don't want to give a release date yet in case it gets pushed, but we're eyeing mid-September to start releasing our quarantine web series project. So keep an eye out on all that.
Yeah. So.
And apparently Slotty wants us to do a 2 East 8th cut of the Justice League. So.
Oh, Jesus.
There's that.
It'll be real quick.
The only thing he wants is us to digitally put in a mustache in every scene, and also star wipes.
Oh God!
Transitions between every scene.
Love it.
So that will be coming out shortly.
It's happening for sure.
Yeah.
All star wipes. Yeah, we got it. We got it, Slotty. Thank you. Once again, Justin, thank you. Jamie,
Douglas,
thank you. Jamie, thank you so much for coming by. Twitch, thank you.
Listeners, thank you.
And you all have a dandy fucking week.
Mind Gap Podcast.